are gonna fix the white balance, and you can do this in basically two ways: using the color picker or doing it by eye. Most of the adjustments get their own nodes. That way we can easily find them, disable them, or well, change them. You can disable a single node using Ctrl D, or disable all of the nodes and basically have a before and after using Shift D. So let's get to correcting the white balance. Add another node using Alt S. If there is something completely white in your shot, you can select the dropper and click on it. When you do that, you're basically telling the program, well, this pixel might be whatever, but it should be white. And now the program will do anything in its power to, well, make this pixel white, and thereby correcting the whole shot. This, by the way, is the purpose of those little cards with all of the colors on them and those white, black and gray areas. So what if you don't have anything white in your shot? Well, in that case, you need to use the second technique, which is correcting by eye. If you do it this way, it is very important that you have a color accurate display, because if you don't, well, let's say it has a bit of a green tint to it and you try to make white white and black black, well, you might just make everything purple, so you will be correcting incorrectly. If you don't have a good monitor, you can still do it, but in that case you will really need to use the scopes and learn how to read those. I have two pretty good screens, so I'm just gonna do it by eye by looking at the image itself. But again, this method should certainly be avoided if you don't have a very good screen, and in that case you should use tools like the vector scope, the RGB parade and the waveform. The white balance in this shot is probably not very far off because I've manually set it and I know the Kelvin temperatures of my lights. But let's make a bit of an extreme example. You don't have to follow this is just an example to explain it. So I've added two more nodes to the shots. One node is to ruin the shot, so we can fix it in the second node. To make it look terrible, I've pushed a lot of green, blues and teal into, well, the whole image. So what should we do? Well, it's easy. Add the opposite color. If you don't know what the opposite color of some colors are, you should use the scopes and look at one of those color wheels that you have in the left corner. So the opposite of green and blue is orange and purple. And I'm gonna correct this shot using the offset. You can also use the white balance and the tint slider, but I don't really like to do it that way. So let's drag the offset towards purple and orange. And I'll just do this until I think that it looks natural. And again, if you have a terrible monitor, don't do this, because it will be completely off. If you've done this and you're still not completely sure if the colors are right, you can pump up the saturation. Now every color is basically exaggerated, so you can much more easily see if they're off or not. So correct them with the saturation at 100, and well, if you're done, bring it back to 50. I'm going to delete these two nodes because we don't need them. We just need one to fix the actual white balance of the shot. But in the case that you don't need to adjust the white balance at all, you still need to add the node. Why? This way all of your grades are structured the same way and you can find everything easily. To make the structure even a bit more clear, you can label all of your nodes using Ctrl L. I call this node balance. Maybe you've noticed that I placed this balance node before the previous node with the LUT. This is because the conversion LUT should be applied after the shot is corrected. We first added the LUT so that we can actually see what we are correcting. If you don't believe me, try to correct log footage. It is very hard, probably impossible. So by placing it in front using Shift S instead of Alt S, it first applies the corrections, but we can already see what the LUT does. No big visual changes after this step, and that is because the white balance was already spot on.